okayfm 101.7.
Lawyer Tetteh Wayoe wono ena enkwada yi a Achimota school ni ese mu omunkoi woko gina mu ede ema wo mu as lawyer. Lawyer Tetteh Wayoe blessing things.
Hello.
Ena eti say
Kwame we dey yami adom meje so chichi for na we dey Kwame ankasa dey we dey wonye current also Wayoe Ghana man nti Kwame
bra facheli
opening case we dey me say kan obako and the latest news
live bra na boko dey
yami adom
enra court ruling here my guy oni ni nua na assembly ena mo de ko down court na say ena court no su ruling wakan
Kwame okaya na pay sum we dey central for assembly since 18th of June senior secondary for a year no Muhammad hu abobo na assembly no kwakwa ni say nkola mienu oheneba oye me client my guy oye me my learned friend Gauga a client, but the same course of action and at the same release. The cracker say, Achimota say, on my person, and I'm a best friend dreadlocks in tea. As I trim, Yenjomu school hall. Now, Achimota no, Ayana, with a bushy hair, crana, Yenjo. And I no, na, Yankaka, it's say, and ye bushy hair, assembly yekan. And I say, yes, a lifestyle of obi I said me pese me twa me 300% na me de nam ehun asem na yeka, but it bordered on matters of fundamental human rights excuse me the constitution chapter 5 precisely on the right and freedom to conscience, belief and religion, as well as right to education. Inti asem no kwakwa ne say nkola we no Rastafarianism is their religion. They are ardent followers of the religion. They practice it and they maintain it. And in maintaining, Numbers chapter 6 verse 5. Bible quotation we know. And some of we and the to be famous.
Kind of say Numbers chapter 6 verse 5.
Verse 5. What Bible ma Ubia opeso tunu ho esi ho.
Beba to mamen kan Numbers chapter 6 verse 5. There ubi ya na me kan. Asema wo nie. Numeri anasa Numbers etrensia imu enum Numbers chapter 6 verse 5. What say? Na ahotua bose nna ne nyina mu no yiwan biara enkaniti. Onye kronkron kosi se ena otua ne ho ma awurade no bewie duru. Yiwan Bibian kaniti wanya konkrom awurade ai
if you can't Kwame and one at the hodo I the brofuma is that razor shall not touch your hair for the time of your vow till the time the vow will be over. Inti asem no man yes in person keke obidi ebebo life ehu asem no yeka na mom person obi aye e dey afa no kwan so etu ne hu eti wo se oye Nazarene it's a strong evidence of somebody's religious faith. And random point say obey etu anamo a practice and maintaining. Now Rasta so maintaining faith now. It's about keeping the hair. You know say I was here called Mranim na Mrano mu say Mrano ma obi fa hu dey say ubetimi enya wosuma ope. Na uja utiri hinu ka wo suma no ho a emra wo school ho se genyi akwala eti no ene no enam anase ene no enko nti ekopie mu no judge no agitu mu se
babe ansan ye beko ba bi a judge no pronouncement no wo no yen hwa de bi between the law I wear a constitution mu any rules and regulations was school no obi beka say ese nyamsom de ye practice no from akomam enti school no so ye say de wo ba akwada bia ntwa ne ti sa wo ye konfo ba o say wo ye hindu twati ya na manfo adwene ye na kakra between the law and regulations was school ho
Kwame, no next to be sa net say no kweno no ye kwa could do at the country a judge no ejina so be the pempens here. Because those are the very reasons. And so what my alcohol there and the funny too. Near judge in the air can say it is not in dispute say schools ebenya rules and regulation yede administer school no. But ni na no e was say your constitution emra kese no eno no eden eno no enam eno no ebomuta free net say enkoye say mra kitwe dia obebi no by ebebu constitution anymore tia. It is very important say that distinction will be made. Nobody is against rules and regulations in governing a particular community within our state nation, but constitution your core jurisprudence more a friend of group norm and as a mrakesi article 1-2 is very clear that any law or rule that seeks to be inconsistent with this or any provisions of this constitution on that inconsistency makes that rule or regulation void. Inti emrebi anywhere a bit to me abetches and no the same constitution. Inti no man na da hono constitutional provisions chapter 5 on fundamental human rights and freedoms are a trepefi ewo enyoma freedoms and I say ye fan who dia embrana kasa dia shares ba ko na ye kan wa tem in respect of article 21 the freedoms to conscience free conscience belief and religion, and you can manifest that religion abano section 25 26 how echo inti it became a bone of contention say yeah mrakasi no any atimota mrana HSN kola yomuti no any the kwana e hona judge no angian to say atimota for ntimi improve say mrana e ho sisia no so saying fahudia constitution akasa dia mai. And it is also to be said say constitution also say fahudi and as freedoms no and yet absolute the channel say for fahudi no and say wo fahudi and let wo sum na wo di jana wo de ko, but it can be limited under article 12(2). It is not in dispute say rights and freedoms can be limited, but it must be limited justifiably, and I said there should be a lawful justification, a lawful way of limiting these rights. And a lawful way of that compelling reasons such as for public interest, and then also not to harm or hinder the free enjoyment of another person's rights. It's not cause me to say akwala wa 18% pesa school na kasano GS a qualify edina kotuono obana or in pesa. How does it affect the community of students on Atimota campus? Atimota was supposed to answer that. Oba school phone kaina akano ono no person na why na oba beti na de no crime best na befa so etia school phone kaina omo fa hodi so you need to prove that, because that is the only injunction and caveat article 12(2). The other one is public interest. Public interest being an akolana why any person na well on merit yet na ba school be so missing no public interest being an person infringing upon. How does it affect Achimota for how to administer school? No? All these questions were supposed to be answered, and until these questions are answered, you can say Mbremuno civil matters, no cases are won on the balance of probability. You must convince the judge why your side of the story should be accepted. Now, judge, it will say I tilted the scale of justice. But if you cannot answer these questions, which is the compelling reasons why you must limit somebody's fundamental human right, the court cannot go along with you.
We are Rastafarian. Oh yeah, Rastafari.
Yes, I open it. But the woman say me vow 2005 no me de call Kwame Nkrumah Pumko we about law school. Yeah, baby, we law school na me ankasa me fee say I don't want it to be a subject now, but it is a legal profession, and I could see the signals that yes, you don't pass to the bar, you are called to the bar. In 200 over 100 krana general legal counsel and now judges for our more general legal counsel say sir akwa we dey man if any 3 lawyer or my more. They will decide not to call you to the bar, and you have to
litigate upon such a idea or practice.
So at that point, my decision was that I have a lot of battles ahead. Even Abbey, this is one of the battles. I have a lot of battles ahead, which if I can decide to renounce my vow, I can renounce my vow, and I can always take up my vow at any time. Into the bone of okay, number 6, who say, vow now until the period of your vow, no, you are under that vow between you and your God until when you can renounce the vow. In Kolaya Yekomatani, they have not taken steps to renounce their vow, so they are still under the vow. But if somebody decides to renounce the vow after 10, 20, 15 years, that is so also required by numbers. Into when they can boy Yami Kuku, no mass Amrawi na Yamin Casa Ufa vow na se vow na say forever and ever. Opa bet na se vow na say forever and ever. Yami eno beko. O renounce vow no so Yakupon Kuku na dem rana to no ebet nwako.
Na ayi lawyer mami musa ras mamu so adie matna maba mo services ni bia kama sabre na me wo cultural center as an artistic department etina edu ba bi na moba Saturday na sa sabbatical worship no na kama papa it goes with near maybe obi o wa se bia make us say we issue helps nom ne ade sa de se nkwala yi ped this ruling enkwala no se edu ba bi no pese bia o issue helps kwan wo ho ped the ruling
Kwame help subject no who say first deputy speaker parliament or assembly or
your wife
and your wife for a different aspect of the argument. We don't want to go into that. What we are on not generally, but I'll give you just a bit of but the person man for to say near court it's on fundamental human rights as to right to freedom of worship and manifest your religion. Right to education, right to dignity. If you look at issue of the use of herb, it will still have to be juxtaposed in respect of the laws of this country. It is not really the case that somebody could be going around and using marijuana or cannabis. We all know is against the law. You understand? On the sabbatical worship, Rastas try to do invocations by using the herb. That will be a different subject. There has been a law in this country before. Or Yameneba versus the state. Olenu those times ago, long time ago.
Justice Olenu.
The ruling was that ignorance of the law is no excuse. But then the ratio was also that they were under the impression that they are using these herbs, which is not only herbs, different types of herbs for their religious purposes. And on the basis of their religious purposes, that really wasn't the issue. The question was to answer whether ignorance of the law and ignorance of facts. In answering ignorance of the law and ignorance of the facts, it could say, if you are ignorant of the law, you are ignorant of the law, and that does not exonerate you to say But the other angle that Olenu looked at was that these people use these things in their religious invocation, manifestation, and that was not the subject of the court. And the court didn't really decide whether it was wrong or right for their religious purposes. The determination was only on ignorance of the law and mistake of facts. It's another topic or another debate on its own.
On its own,
it takes a different argument and analysis if that is supposed to arise. It is a what started conversation. Let's even somebody who is 50 years, 60 years, who has been a Rasta. Now say who will be the out say obi dreadlock no crowd when you sing nkwala na yeka ho masem
no bebre
obi dreadlock e be 60 years ago ni so so na odam one kata na we be 70 something dreadlock ni be 60 something it's white. If this person today decides that enough is enough, I will go to the court of law to test the law whether at my age and all this while I can be using my herb. And the herb is about creation. You call Bible CCS, you call Genesis, come in, minister with the Bible, they would be Jumapa, who we show we are. Call Bible, what we say, and God created everything, including the herbs for food and for medicine. And after creation, said everything He has created is good and purpose for the benefit of man. And He obi a wedi 70 years here now, no officer or person be use maybe a type of herb, but you have decriminalized it. You have criminalized it. Obey you for maybe in his religious purposes, invocation and something. That would be a different legal argument. And the court at that time, said the use of such types of herbs, under our laws, it's not lawful. The court began to say, as we stand, it is not lawful. If you want to change it, then get your parliament or your house that makes laws and statutes to give us the law and we apply it. You see, these are two different scenarios because it's about the observance, respect, protection, and fulfillment of fundamental human rights as they are on our statute books. And judging who say these rights are being violated and they must be respected and upheld, and that's exactly what she has done.
Sir, per the ruling, a man for argument a metier be necessary oba baby a institution says institution of learning and kwalano wo share teacher for say Latin word was say incuria parenti nature say wo school ha wo ma wo fo school ho no any a teacher for no per the ruling no say no teacher for no wo need to me bia say be say character formation we uniformity ebe adwuma wo di ani say obaba be kira de ohun
me I would say it strongly. In fact, one of the arguments Timothy put up, Attorney General put up, is that the rules are there for uniformity. And it got to a point, Judge Nibisa. So uniformity means when I come to Timothy, as you see that all of the children are carrying the same haircut. Obisa of course not at a certain point, what the other side no, it became like okay, answer that question. So we are now in a certain camp. All the students at Timothy, we now yet from 500 males. We now you see, the whole issue was you need to justify. How does Obia why ne person based on the religion? How does it show that he's indisciplined? It was a question to be answered, and they couldn't answer. Unless you're able to prove say Akwalano person why no, a number why indiscipline. If you cannot prove that, every other thing is conjecture. Coming to question will be said if you say teachers into me and apply rules. No. Akwalano, why the tree based on the religion? What about school? And Kwala we can only a day student. Into this issue of say administration of the school will break down. No. It's not that you're there, it's still falls in the realm of assumption because about an upper 8 o'clock. Also, 7:45, Umbra morning devotion and now morning whatever it is, waba prapra, we go through just like every other student. Classes are starting about 2 o'clock, or depending on when the school closes, about 2 o'clock, I'll find a bag or coffee. Where does the life of this student, in the life of this student with this day student stuff, where does it come in to disturb the proper administration of the school? And see, question I'll be saying, it is exactly like what they were advancing. They are all in the realms of conjecture. And in the case of Republic versus Thomas Thompson books, 1996, it's clear that the court does not look at abstract metaphysics, but applies the law in respect of factual evidence before the court. So let the matter appear before the court, and the court will take the matter on case-by-case basis. Sakoladia will try to see person based on his religion. About Timothy, now obey, put it up an act of indiscipline, obey something against the rules, then you can bring that up, and then that will be discussed. But until then, you are conjecturing, you are arguing, and law does not work that way. We don't look at abstract metaphysics.
Oh, okay. Sir, me fans will be so a Hindu, a kanka, and only a Baha'i faith, no. Wamuso Sebia, Wamuso no per sadia, bia Rastafarians, a TA, Wamuso betimi in a certain outlook be. Per the ruling, Wamuso betimi diaba.
You see, for example, look at a Hindu, and I find say and Hindu I fan said Nasadi him.
Aha, Bibisa.
Or better like with frat to Manana Bibisa.
Family, you movie mu.
You see, that one, the simple principle here is this: schools wear school uniforms. And if schools wear school uniforms are basically to indicate that you fall within this school. Intina, presec, almost school uniform are different from Achimota school uniform. So issues of school uniform.
School almost school uniform feba kopa yo case. I want
am say wow be. It's okay. Any prempe uniform is different, so that when you see a prempe student at Kumasi Kejitia and okay, you are able to identify them. In terms say no, say maybe Obia or say Mishaka for the bar. You are actually cutting yourself out of the school. How will you know you are part of the school? Okay. But this issue of haircut, into say Obi Echo okay. Now what's the uncanny Sakura? Obi Komprempe, no uncanny Sakura, no Minna Bidinaho, no Munchef uniform. How will you know who is the okay student and who is the Prempe student? You will not know. It means nothing. Kwame, it means nothing. Example, I'm Kwame, Mkwami Nujinaho, okay, it's Nikaniti Sakura. Prempe Nikaniti Sakura. No Munna Eshe, white shirt and white trousers. Which school will you identify one of them with?
Now, you're funny, say.
Kwame, when you know, Penny a gun of wood you.
I was it the enemy you are no.
They say, okay, it's Nijinaho, we can see Sakura, because man say, you will Tibushi here, will you? Penny bit now, we need Tibushi here. Obias a white shirt, Obias a white trousers, or the white trousers, what also fine, as in a black shoe. Colombia, no, why the cook why the cook Prempe?
A bad thing.
Exactly. You understand? But in the issue of school uniforms, the reason why you cannot come and say that we are Hindu here, so they want to man that line of regulation is so critical. Inti asana for that court, no. The court is a court of reasoning. That is why the law says that there should be compelling reason for you to be able to limit the rights. We have two examples in respect of uniforms and the you can see that the uniform argument when it arises will put out a compelling reason. Why? Because if students in any prempe students in we need to identify them. Okay. So that becomes a compelling reason why you cannot bring your togas or your Mohican outfit to be able to disturb the regulation of the system. But issue of haircut, it has no bearing. Because of that, no bearing we are very evident, Why would you use such an issue which is not compelling to limit a fundamental human right? And I court maybe some no. The court cannot rule in their favor.
Now, a lawyer Boamikakra, me find say religion be also a be a memano, yes, asumadi, and I nabi the biasi him. And no son per the ruling, no, you bet me a maquine. I'm a sadi and so akoso. Now,
wait, necessary, you are taking us into the realm of types of religion and the type of religion.
Obi Bakasa, apart from Rastafarian, sanity, dear, and here. Me so say be a religion way. Yes, and yes, my dear.
Sorry, and a medical catcher say in the public versus Tommy Thompson, the rule is that the court does not deal with abstract metaphysics. The court looks at the law and evidence, factual evidence before the court. You see, when we begin to let it look like, and you'll be super religion, that religion now over advanced, it must be notoriously known. There should be judicial notice of that religion. It should be a religion properly so called. King, judge, Okuguru, and I said judge. What in penny sender, and I said judge me. That's the same religion has been recognized worldwide as a religion in so many jurisdictions. In the U.S., way back, in Kenya, Zimbabwe, in so many countries. The question as to if Rastafarian is a religion has long been decided, established. So we go so and then so maybe become a religion via yede asumade say asum any anymore. That's your religion. It must be properly established. It should be a religion as we are speaking worldwide. Everybody knows what it is. If you're not able to establish that, it might not pass.
Naturally, sir, dear, Babylon was not prevailed.
Babylon will still prevail higher. You know, Jano King.
Na, where ne kwa paano Ninu Mianunya St. John's. Now, when we are Mamma Kwamo Echo with their Rasta ahen.
Oh, Emmanuel, and almost necessary. Child, my guy, sisters, no, a buyer on the support of my brother. So Kwame, so you see, if you are talking about uniformity, it should be a uniformity nationally, not uniformity in a corner whilst others are doing what seems to be right. See, St. John's Grammar, we example, there are children there with their dreadlocks. Tema Secondary School, on authority, there are children there with their dreadlocks. As we buy a year Brouhaha, at the Memorial Zion in Takrade, there's a young man there with his dreadlocks from the Imperial Royal family. And Accra Academy, there's a young man there. In other schools know that you cannot use this to stampede the overall welfare. I mean, in Section 2 of the Children's Act at 560, it is titled the Welfare Principle. Welfare Principle is very paramount. Say, the interest of Akwalano a primary consideration, and it has to prevail. In the Ukase, Akwalana, Ono Yaunato religion, Young Obi Won bar. No, son is not in the church. Akwalano Oba, we ask no church, not the bio, but now for the Nikum, because you are not in the church. Obi Won bar, or somewhere not in the call mocks. Sakolana woman, only mocks, Obi in the call mocks. The same thing to these kids. They were born. Their parents believe in this type of religion, and it is a form of Christianity. Then I'm on you know. Rastafarianism is a form of Christianity, but it's not the one coming from Rome.
It's a form of Christianity.
Exactly. So Rastas use the Bible. Now, it didn't hear some king. Kwame, you see what kind Numbers chapter 5.
Me say I say Mukwamu believe say Jesus Christ was a Rastafarian.
Now something no a day me brapen.
No Ras.
Because that ni na ho di en free ni mu.
Na ye ni tiri nwin na ho di no.
Jeremiah class so okay Jeremiah so die no. Okay, and I was in the say Jeremiah na Isaiah. I think one of them, but Jeremiah I think so na a amunemu ne nyame e pejano by the lock of his hair anameboa. Aye. Say only tiri tintia. So now or the catcher so how did the Lord save him by the log of his head? Because man the 3 years thinking you so 3 weeks thinking okay Sakura say kupon me so man you understand there's nothing new on earth. There's nothing new on earth. Who baby na bibi na on here. It is rather education na here. Rastafarianism is not something hiding in the corner. It is the belief of the Bible through another way, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church line. Our way of understanding the scriptures is not the one from Rome. You see, I got that in Rome by Constantine, Christ time, now Israel for almost sabbatical day. The Jews don't worship on Sunday. It is Constantine, it's Rome that changed the worship from sabbatical day to Sunday. And why sabbatical worship? Because sabbatical worship is a diakopon bull, you are the Jane home. Even
that is why Rasta we are sabbatical worship on Saturday. No,
Inti Kwame, Inti Ushawan Kasankasapona, Rastas na follow Yankopon dictate. Rastas na respect Yankopon abodie ebano esum. Na mo na mo yesi akosia mo ka soli or hini be a friend Constantine. Okoda e didi we no wine we no fi say oh yes yenya sorry ni free Saturday and farmer Sunday. Magiatum and them fi say fine. You are living by it. Somebody is worshiping on the Sabbath, which is strictly with Yakopon share that all the time since creation. And that will say to see or anything ameno. Is there Christianity? They didn't call lemon that song. They didn't come in that song. Didn't come in that song. Baby, you understand? The debate it is further education and the view never enlighten. And the hono why then what you your brother Penny Bako, Mr. Inji Kabonu. You're in the discourse and not just president. You're this discourse, Muno, Wapa, because, excuse my language, or exposing who say, Anyamano on Tiasia, because on one of your sister stations. No, Captain Kenya, and Obibana or your Mohican, Obibana so be togas. No, togas a religion.
Hey, Obidia, but Absalom too was a Rastafarian.
And when he disobeyed his father and tried to fight against his father, he was caught in the oak tree by his locks.
By his lock. Now, it's telling you person the lock.
You understand? When I send the wa education. No one near air calling ever. Oh, the person can afford for video chat. Rastas, Omuji Amidi, Omuji Bible. But the Rastas understands and want to worship the Creator, not from the room aspect of Christianity. That's the only difference. That is why we believe sabbatical worship is the day, because from the days of creation, you have your boy on the 7th day, that 7th day, is Sabbath. Jew for Israel, for you do much in the Jews worship on Sabbath. It is Constantine, and I'm repeating again. And I sorry, if we name that fine. If we are let's move on. But if you don't go into research, now we are now sending the Torah. Can with the realities based on research. Near copy a court, and yeah, say, Obi by Abbey a fresh Miniaji, the young person of born life. It was a matter of Obi Esum, mini GDA, and in the choir of Association. And now, school no fees, young running Mount Mauma, and the court, you know. The evidence near clear semi panel, no small sumini. And a man say, as soon as you can manifest and profess that religion. And if you do that, any other rule that will seek to impede that fundamental human right, must be justified by a compelling reason. Until that compelling reason is advanced, you will not be allowed to limit that right or violate it.
Okay. Now, and what I'm on the school?
Near to we know, and yeah, a risk of sermons, say a sermon on man from United Court, what follow statement of claim, or be a filing defense. Now, I call you witness, and who we are, you have to go through other processes first to enforce the judgment. But we know as a 33 application, more or less like a motion. If it's a motion,
okay.
Affidavit and then statement or a written statement. Into court no ma ruling now. The ruling, you act on the ruling. The ruling is that that right to education is being violated, right to freedom of religion is being violated, right to dignity and not to be subjected to inhuman treatment is being violated. So court to declare all the things that we are saying is in violation of these things.
Okay. Now are you for lawyer for no bibi so mbe state of execution ana
and if you move by yenti adiachi yamya anapa biem yehu nieko whatever they have to do biano ye no ye be take steps and I will be say and I me check we say we know because a ruling the ruling is saying stop something. So if you are stopping something, what it means is that people are stopping from and that obey me take steps are not supposed to take it. The children were supposed to go to school and you were stopping them. With this ruling, it means stop denying them from coming to school. So they can start coming to school. We don't need to go through the process of enforcement of judgment and another process. Those rulings now, it gives you automatic relief. The relief you are seeking, you've been granted that relief. So you embark on it quickly. And still beside stay of
execution
appeal and as proceedings in whatever it is an executioner. They can take that step, but we can also take our step by acting on the order. The order will be that they should grant the access for the case to go to school. Judge Nasi. Now also we are also do not think that Adikuti Aneka say judge a leadership gift a Giado. It is legendary. It is legendary because Mamino with two and more Ayana Monkesie. What Tony Dean was judicial adjudication in this country. Because you see on the way and say human rights on books is not the proper way of observing, respecting and fulfilling human rights. We must begin to get human rights practically fulfilled. Indeed, if human rights is human rights that has been provided, if there's no compelling reason to limit it, it must be respected and upheld and fulfilled. It's very difficult to take such a stand. But for this ruling to come, tells you that her leadership is firm, she understands, and Menoka said, she is now in the legendary status with Eleanor Roosevelt, the architect and mother of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. About two news Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Rank no, level na her leadership gift she's also in the ranks with Mary Robinson, a former Ireland president, Human Rights Commissioner, UN. These are people who, in their life, put their actions to show that human rights must be protected. They must not just be on books, but must seem to respect, uphold, and protect them. Leadership has just done that. Andrew say a reference to judgment, persuasive authorities from Kenya, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and the rest. You see, Ghana so this classical ruling. Actually, the issue of Nigerian courts can refer to the Ghanaian ruling. And when they refer to the Ghanaian ruling, the name of Gifty Eje Ado is what is on that important ruling. Ghana forces so enter and Omonda Mamenasi. It's say the Pennyforce our mind more. The judicial system, rule of law, is basically on track.
Now, next just a case you crowd here, there is already a case law on that. Because Ghana had here, there isn't a case law in respect of Rasta youth taking such a step to the court of law and getting such a pronouncement. In our jurisdiction, it is the first time. And then locus classicus. Locus classicus meaning the first of its kind. But there has been other areas. Kenya say 2019 JMW the same similar example. 15-year-old girl. Onupo di ono started school na later mu say person di say okwa mama member school game until we the criminal. Almost the same. It is that they are blocking them from even going to start the school. But it's the same fact. Because Zimbabwe in other jurisdictions this has been looked at, but Ghana they are firmly in a firm direction that if the freedom to have one's religion is granted and guaranteed under Chapter 5, entrenched provisions in the Constitution, that person must be allowed to manifest and practice that right to religion. And you can only come under Article 12.2 to limit that right, by compelling reasons. Until the compelling reasons, what the limits are right, until there reasons, and the choice of words, compelling reasons. So it must not be any ordinary reason. Starting with for by reason, for uniformity, for hygiene. Hygiene, look at judge be Attorney General when you see hygiene, what do you mean by hygiene? Oh my Lord, sometimes when children have bushy hair, lice coming there. Oh, no, be our court horse. You see, so you are trying to say, will be a person. If you want to kill me, you see, this is absurd assumptions. The reasons now you have to limit a constitutionally or a statutory provision in respect of human rights. Article 12.2 it must be compelling for public interest and then not to be an affront or a hindrance to somebody's enjoyment of the right. It must not just be any reason. And if you're not able to advance that compelling reason, no court of law that sits as a human rights court, a human rights administration, as I say, human rights must not be on the static books, but human rights, practically it is being upheld and being fulfilled. No court will go along with you when the reasons you're advancing to limit a right it's not compelling. This is what really outplayed. They came with a reason, but the reasons were not compelling enough for the court to agree with their position, and so their opposition was dismissed. And I since I'm 12 before the judge a pronouncement on the matter because being in MP Bonting. Nada, never be ho.
Sadly, the acquire summer near the central for court miswa. That court na Human Rights Court 1 a woman leadership team is first no our court for na na call independence court ministry show. That new court no dey emususu. But the Human Rights Court na ba old Supreme Court premises ho. The structures no nye tesisa. For COVID reasons no no lawyers no campo no. Na kumbia no so small. Nipa mi exact na ho a. But
at least let's say Quebec me a Jansen for Bay 2 Bikura.
Exactly. And me, when the clerk started talking about it, I told the clerk that these are the news people. They take the news out. So basically, 1 or 2 or 3 of them should be in here to take the news out. And the clerk's response is that is the instruction she has been told. And a police means also Juna Gate and also say you have to go. You see, all this goes to administration. People must understand. I mean, we are police news in a gate. Now, the media is the fourth realm when it comes to getting citizens understand daily occurrences. Now, you have a court now and to see. Now, media form you could have asked them, okay, fine, you are all here. Who and who volunteered to come in, and then when you pick your report, the others can pick from you. That is inclusive administration, but. That's the order I've been giving. That is blah blah. So the media person should go out. At the end of the day, how will the media people report? It means they have to come and get a copy of the ruling and all that. Getting a copy of the ruling, it goes to some typo, now more printing, not judge signing. But the media does not work like that. Media no free them up here now. News is running. News must be a running event. The media person will feed them up here now. Come here now, me journalism mention critic about news should be running. So no feed them who they are the first people to tell the citizens they cohesive say in the fear until details number. Now one person in court system ruling na judge me after number type mo type we are e be konya ko signing. When would that get to the news people for them to go and make their news which should be running? But if you don't understand it that way and you say media have been told or have been authorized to tell everybody to go out, and so you cannot keep 1 or 2 media people in, it means you really don't really understand the holistic way of how these things work.
Now, you're reading now, Ubo Elena Roosevelt. Roosevelt, the longest first lady in the history of the United States.
Exactly. And you know, to me, who see where that human rights, you know. And I mean, the quote here, our paraphrase. Also, what is human rights? And then she went ahead to define it. Human rights are the very things you find everywhere. You can find it in our schools, in our homes, in our workplace, everywhere. And until consented citizens take effort to realize it in these small places, any attempt to realize it in the bigger world will never be achieved.
Wow.
You understand? Inti niesi wa chimota chisi small rules na wana ubiso asemwe de bia achimota rules. That thing happening in that school, if you don't address it on the basis of human rights, that human rights must be fulfilled, and we leave it hanging, how will you resolve bigger human rights matter when it becomes a national matter?
I see. That's a pa na me we so me from after say na obako court into we court one e be din komo awia.
You mean you penny me that.
Me so that's baba.
Na pa we dey na say uno na we ya late o. We Tetteh mi see din George no matwa ma brofo no. Ya dey ya faga na nkasa.
Is it full name ni say?
Wayo Ghana maninti.
Wow. Me that's a pa.
Yes, that's it coming.
Yo, okay. Lawyer Ras Wayo Ghana maninti. O manti ni ebre yo. Wono ene gina mu say legal practitioner na counsel for Achimota Rasta students no na ye no atwetwe nkomo.
OKFM 101.7